These are things I designed when I was working in China. I've been there for what, 10 years?
Oh, no.
7, 8 years?
Yeah.
I have the originals of these old German cherubs in my house, in my collection. And I, stupidly enough, I took them with me to China to have knocked off and copied, and nothing happened to it. I said you can look at it and draw it and copy it, but you cannot put a film on it. You can't, you know. I just want to use some wonderful greens. Just again, you've got that wonderful movement that the cherub has. Take advantage of that. And this wonderful juniper, you know, does that. The juniper has these wonderful, I want to use 3 or 4 different kinds of greens. And what I did was, again, to secure the statue into here, it's got a big, heavy wire around the body, and 2 wooden picks in the side, in the oasis, then it's all wired to there, seriously wired. And I covered it here with Christmas green so you don't see the actual mechanics.
Ron, why were you working in China?
I was, I had no desire ever to even go to China, let alone work there. Oh, that's good. And this man, I did a talk in...
Should we just say it wasn't a good marriage?
I did a talk in winter tour. Every year has a huge conference on American flowering, and I was hired to do it. I've done it several times, and I did it. And there was this Chinese man there, and he said, "You have the perfect look for American flowers. You come work for me." And I said, "I have no desire to go to China. Don't even think about it. No, I'm not going." And he kept calling Betsy and saying, "Huh? You want him to come to China?" And I said, "The answer is no. I'm not going." So he called and finally said, "I will send Ron a ticket, first-class ticket, and all I want him to do was come and spend a week in China with us and just see what we do." So I went, and I thought, well, hell, this is kind of, I could actually change my mind. I could, you know, reinvent myself and have a good time over here. So I said, he said, "I will give you." And I said, "You'll give me nothing. I will take this much money a day." Well, I have an attorney friend who said to me, "Watch yourself." And I did. But it really was fun time. But the man was, the kids I worked with and everything else, it was fabulous.
What part of China, Ron?
I would fly into Hong Kong, get on a ferry on the Pearl River, and for 2.5 hours go upriver to this little tiny port in Jiangshan, then get off in what was rice fields. A driver would pick me up, take me out to this factory. There were 445,000 employees in this factory. It was huge. I mean, it was like a city. Millions of people running around. I mean, my God. It was fun. I could do whatever I wanted, make whatever I wanted. He ended up loving me. But never would be nice.
Oh.
He just had something against me. There were 2 other employees there. They would come back. We would go. You know, I said, "I cannot work here full time. I won't do it." So I would go for a month, come back for a month, stay for a month, come back for a month. And when it was a Chinese holiday, they would have a brand new Rolex watch on their beds. Oh, I got nothing because I would not stay there full time and work for him. I said, "You know, I'm not doing it." And I had a wonderful little work room that I had a room to myself to design in. Because I did all the stuff for Pottery Barn, Target, Williams-Sonoma, Bergdorf's. All the big stores loved what I was making. So they were all my customers. And I had this wonderful little group of girls who worked with me in my room. And darling girls. And every morning we had a little deal that every morning they would teach me a Chinese word, I would teach them an English word, and we'd each learn a number. And he screamed at me because I was using company time and all that. And I would, come and go. And one little girl became pregnant when I went back one time. And I said, oh, thank God, you wanted a child. How wonderful is this? And I came back the next time, and she had lost the baby. And she came in one day and just said to me, God, my stomach feels awful. I really don't think I should be working today. I said, you shouldn't be. Let me go get the boss and tell him you're not here today. So she came back in the room. He marches in behind her. And starts screaming at her. You've had 2 days sick leave. You're wasting my time. Get back to work. Screaming at her. And the poor little girl started bawling and crying. And said, if that's the case, I'll just quit and leave. I said, you're smart. Get out of this place. So she left, came back the next day for her little notebook, her ribbons in her drawer, all her little stuff. And said, my paycheck. He says, I'm not giving you a dime. You left me with no warning. I owe you nothing. And she said, I have to eat. I need to pay rent. I have to survive. He said, that's your problem, not mine. And I thought, so I maybe had $200 in my pocket. So I gave it to her and said, here, honey, just get out of here. You're better off leaving this place. And he watched me do it. And I thought, I'm in trouble now. So the next morning, he calls me in his office. I said, before you say a word to me, I said, you did what every Chinese man hates yesterday. You lost face. I said, there were 30 girls watching you do that. I said, those girls now work for you because they fear you, not because they appreciate you. And walked. There goes that job. But I was making so much money for him. He wouldn't fire me. But so for the next 3 months, when I went back and forth, he would not talk to me. He'd walk down the hallway, look at me in the face, and just keep walking. Wouldn't have a thing to do with me. And I came back and I said, Betsy, the next time he calls, no, I'm out of here. So I just quit. But I had a good time, And these are just, again, wonderful Theodore cedars. Look like big roses. I just have hot glued picks into. I love the brown, the sophistication of the brown and the green. And I loved how these little eucalyptus berries almost have that same wonderful gray-green color that's back in the statue and the urn itself. These are all just plastic.
That's really beautiful.
What's that picture you're putting in right now?
Theodore rose cones, Theodore cedar cones. But they also look like roses. I love these. This is all plastic, yeah. This is plastic, this is plastic. I showed them how to make things look antique, like this, taking a paintbrush and filling it almost full of paint, shaking it out, then stand back and just collect this and flick the paintbrush. You get thousands of little spots, which makes it look like it's older. And it's, it's not just one, it's like 5 shades of green, 5 shades of gray, and the last thing you do is black and white. That gives it, look at this up close, which gives it a depth to it. But just this is fun, just the wonderful gray, green coloring of it. Just it's fun. I love the little cherub. He looks so happy, I have the beard, one that floats this way and one that floats this direction. Nails to my mantle.
So Ron, did they make a reproduction of this?
They made these.
They made those in China.
Right. They were done. My room was fun because I had all the good customers. All the big stores would come to, be like, well, he's doing best. So they would all come into my room and look at my stuff. And the guy was such a jerk. Truly. I mean, when big stores would come in, Bergdorf's and all those big stores will come in and say, we want this look. So I would just cover with the sheet and say, this was sold at Bergdorf's exclusively. Nobody else can have it.
No.
And he would drag in somebody